The labor market is extremely tight, and inflation is much too high. Against this backdrop, today the FOMC raised its policy interest rate by 0.75 of a percentage point and anticipates that ongoing increases in the target range for the federal funds rate will be appropriate.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Kevin Svenson, and today we're going to be talking about the price of Bitcoin. Today, the news is coming hot off the press with the Fed raising interest rates by 0.75%. A 0.75% basis point hike was the expected rate raise, guys. This is pretty much what the market expected. So there were no surprises today. Nothing came out of the blue. The Fed did what the market thought it would do. And because of that, looking at the S&P 500 on the hourly chart, today we had a gap up leading into the announcement, and then after the announcement took place, an instant reaction up. A lot of bullish speculators stepped in. Now, of course, the markets are closed as I'm making this video. If you're looking at Bitcoin now, well, on the weekly chart, not much going on, right? If you're looking at the weekly chart, today's price action really has shown nothing, right? So just keep that in mind in the context of everything. When you go down into the lower time frames, on the hourly, it looks really cool and exciting with a nice pump, though at this point I would still take it with a grain of salt. We're just in the middle of the range, no confirmations just yet. The market is still digesting the news, and in this 4-hour range, the price action has been really wishy-washy, and here we are again, kind of just washing back up to the upside without any real confirmations. Now I'm looking at the weekly chart for Bitcoin, and we're at the key 200-week moving average. This moving average has acted as the bear market low, not only here in 2018, the COVID, but also back in 2015 and other points as well. The 200-week moving average, usually we don't spend any time below it in a bear market, or at least not much. In this bear market, Bitcoin has spent, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 weeks or more below the 200-week. We didn't really see much action above this yet, right? So we're still below the key 200-week. We're pretty much at it now. The last weekly candle here closed below it. So if we do see this weekly candle close above the 200-week, I do think that that would likely give the market some confidence. And if we close above it, yeah, maybe that ushers in some higher prices, right? That's very possible at this point. But the key part about the Bitcoin trend right now is the log scale downward sloping trend line. We are really far away from any sort of major progress, right? We still have a lot of time to play out more wishy-washy price action below the macro trend line. So, we're going to talk about the lower time frames, but of course, good luck trying to predict what happens in this range. It's really up in the air. The Fed is still likely to raise rates. So even if we do punch up, I don't think that we're necessarily just going to go to the moon, right? It's more likely that Bitcoin would end up testing the low again, creating a longer term, stronger base of support. Even if we punch up in the short term, guys, likely test the lows again before breaking out towards the end of the year. This is just the most likely scenario. We have a long ways to go before we get above this macro downward sloping trend line. It's not just that we could retest the lows. We could even, punch up and test lower levels at some point as well. I'm not saying we can't go lower than that. Of course, lower prices are also possible. The main point here is that we just have so much room to move, so much work to do before we really get out of this area. So that is the big picture, the more important picture. Hop down to the daily chart. Looks interesting. We had Bitcoin playing out some wacky price action, just up and down, breaks out of this level, basically confirms a false breakout, basically invalidating the breakout. And then the Fed comes in, steps in today and kind of just tells the market exactly what they thought. And then people were confident enough to bullishly speculate in the short term. Now Bitcoin is in a higher low trajectory, so that is one bullish sign. Bitcoin is also in a higher high trajectory, higher highs, higher lows. Okay, so we have some sort of upward sloping structure at the very least now. So that is at least one good sign for the bulls. But one thing to also consider is that we had similar structures like this in previous setups. Higher highs, higher lows, right? Over here, higher highs, higher lows. right? So, I mean, if you're just going to say higher highs, higher lows, we're bullish. Well, I mean, it didn't necessarily work out the last time, right? It didn't necessarily happen that way last time. The last few times, I should say, when we played this type of stuff out. I mean, even over here, higher lows, higher highs, right? Kind of like a wedge over there. But every single time so far that we've been in a pattern like this, it dumps. Trend up, dump down. Trend up, dump down. Trend up. What are we going to do, guys? If we do pump up, just expect that some people will be looking for the exit door at higher levels. You know, pumps get sold into in this market environment. And until we actually exit the log scale down trend line, you know, I would say treat the market with a bearish bias. Short term, yeah, sure, you can see pumps in the short term. But again, a retest of the lower levels at some point to create a longer, stronger base of support, longer term base of support, stronger base of support. Yeah, that is also a high likelihood as well. Now, one thing we've been talking a lot about on this channel is the daily RSI. So putting our opinions aside and just looking at the chart and just looking at the technicals, the chart says, okay, we have this sideways range and we're kind of just in a very similar setup. It appears that we're in a very similar setup here, right, than before. And what we can see on the daily RSI, just looking at the pure technicals, is we did maintain the upward sloping trend line. Okay, so even though it does look like we're just in another downside continuation pattern, as long as we're maintaining the upward sloping trend line, we bounce off today, so we're holding the trend line. We're above 50. Okay. Now, the one thing that worries me a little bit is that we're kind of wishy-washy above and below the 50 level in the daily RSI. The thing that really says strength when you're looking at the daily RSI is when you, like for the bull run here for Bitcoin, right? Looking at Bitcoin's bull run from 2020 into 2021, the strength was showing when we came back to retest 50 on the daily RSI and we held it, right? We were bouncing off of it, you know, dipping below it slightly, but holding it, holding it, holding it, holding it, and then boom, breakdown. What happens when we break down? Well, it's pretty clear. Bitcoin goes on a massive bullish tear on this breakdown level, right down. So the key to finding strength is getting above the 50 level and holding it as support, right? Over here, if you'll notice, if you look over at this zone from January of this year, when Bitcoin broke above the 50 level, we never held it. You see that? You see how it was all wishy-washy, just up and down, not bouncing off of it like the bull market, just washing up and down. Really not a sign of strength. So, you know, again, putting our opinions aside, what does the chart say? When will we know that this is more so a strong bullish pivot? It's when we break above 50, right? Maybe we test as high as like the 70 level, right? This is just the bullish scenario. And we come back and we touch the 50 and hold. Then it's like, okay, that's a long entry right there on that retest of the 50. That's looking strong. If we're holding it, if that's what the RSI looks like, then we're in an uptrend, guys. So if we just kind of wishy-washy, you know, we'll probably end up just playing out another bear flag dump. But keep an eye on the daily RSI. I just told you guys what to look out for, what the conditions need to be for us to actually spot a true uptrend and spot strength in the market. If you guys like this kind of content, hit that subscribe button and like the video. Also, go to my website, join Patreon for the VIP Discord chat. And if you guys want a new exchange that does not require KYC and is also USA approved, so you don't have to use a VPN, check out BitGet. It is on my website. If you use this link right here, you will get a $4,000 deposit bonus. That's it, guys. I will see you soon.